Hey, I am actually a minute early. Beat all of you to it. Ha! So I'm gonna give you time to get on like I always do. It's Thursday. It's a better Thursday. You still have your mom. I still have my moments. We'll see how that goes. Waiting for everyone to jump on. I really hope that you guys share this. I hope you guys watch this, and I hope you guys really watch it with your parents or with your teens, or you watch it together, watch it on the repeat, the replay, whatever you want to call it. Not that I want to go viral, but then again, it's one of those things that I think it does. All of the lives I have done, because of the fact it needs to be out there. I have a lot of people really praising us, and I know a lot of you are doing it because that's your way of showing strength and support for us guys, and appreciate it more than you know. It's tomorrow will be 8 weeks. 8 very long weeks. A lot of, I can't say a lot of good has come out of this. A lot of growth has come out of this. A lot of understanding, learning new things. So as I progress each time with these lives with you, I am growing more and more. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm a licensed massage therapist, but I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not a counselor. I come to you as a mother. I come to you as a person who has been through a lot, more than her fair share of things in my life, that I think I have a lot to offer everyone. And with Grayson's passing, this has become my strength. This has become me to be a warrior. This is definitely something that was always a passion, but it's become even more. It is one thing. With everything that's going on, I wanted to say this is something that has needed to be said, and I have put a lot of thought into this, and I have my notes in front of me. With the wake of Grayson's passing, and then unfortunately the wake of the young man in Goose Creek last week, or I should say this past Sunday, we took it very hard. We took it as we failed that child, that we failed that parent, that we failed his friends. We didn't know him, but we took it very hard because we don't want any other parents or other siblings to go through this. Joshua gave me permission to talk about him because he watched live with us last time, and he says it's okay for you to talk about me. I always protect him, and I always will. I never really talked about them on social media, and I will get into more of that, talking about parent-teen. But he's starting to reach out, and he's asked for help because it's become very difficult for him. Which it has all of us. So that is part of what my husband, Scott, was saying last time, that you are not weak, that you are not less of a man, you are not less of a person when you ask for help. Again, I am not a licensed counselor. I have been through a lot, but I know many licensed counselors. They are there for a reason, and they are there to help. And they have been a blessing and a light in many lives, including mine, in helping me get through this, and all of us. So I urge you, if you feel like you're having difficulty to reach out. I have names, I have numbers, and I will be more than happy to give them to you. So with that, I wanted to do this because of the fact that I wanted you to sit down with your teenager, preteen and teenager, and I wanted you as a teenager, as a child, to sit down with your parent, because we are in an environment, in a society that as you teens and as us parents, it's a first time for both of us. As us parents, we are having to parent teenagers in a totally different world than what we grew up in. And I'm talking about social media and the internet. We didn't grow up with that. We were outside. When the street light came on, we came home. We had books. We had friends. We had cards, basketballs, outside games. That's what we had. Our internet was going to the library and looking at the encyclopedias. And if you were one of those ones that fortunate had encyclopedias, you were always at the person's house. That was the internet. That's what we did. We do not have a manual to be a parent. Neither do we have a manual to parent these kids in a world that we have no clue about. The internet and social media are destroying our kids. And probably the kids are looking at like, oh my God, not another parent saying this, blah, blah, blah. And I'll explain that to you. So just bear with me and listen. And I wanted to do this in the last segment, but I'm going to go ahead and do it in the first segment. Social media is a good platform, what I'm using it for now, and is also a very bad platform. Parents, you have to understand that these kids have pressure that we've never experienced before. Yes, you had peer pressure in high school. Yes, somebody had really good shoes and you didn't have the greatest of shoes and blah, blah, blah. These kids nowadays on social media have to look a certain way. These 10, 11, 12-year-old girls are looking like they're 30. And they have the pressure of having the right makeup, having the right contour, having the right the contour kit, the right lines. They are forced to look a certain way because that's how society views them. They have to have all the filters and they have to have the cut lines and the line, me, I'm looking at myself right now and I'm like, whoa, got some stuff going on. I need some makeup. These girls can teach me a few things, but the expectations of them are ridiculous. Social media is also about having the perfect life on social media. Nobody wants to post bad stuff because they don't want you to know all the bad stuff that's going on. I was like that. I was very much about motivation and getting you to get into a better mindset, get into a better life, get into working your business and stuff like that. Now my whole thing has shifted, as you guys well know. Social media is a great, worst platform there is. And these kids are feeling the pressure from social media. Boys are expected to act a certain way, dress a certain way, talk a certain way. You're supposed to listen to a certain type of music. You're supposed to have a certain type of friend. You're supposed to travel and be a millionaire and know exactly what you're going to be doing and have this car and have that. The expectation of social media is absolutely freaking ridiculous. And it is also to the fact too that it is an unreal expectation that has put the pressure on our kids. And in us parents, we have to sit down and have an honest conversation about the goods and the bads of social media. Yes, a lot of them use it as just flipping through like we do on Facebook, like we do on Instagram. The kids are watching TikTok, the Snapchat and stuff like that. There are so many different ways, and there are a lot of bad things that they're watching. They're watching of how to treat people like crap, or how all these pranks, how to do things wrong to him, or all these challenges that they're doing. I mean, Tide Pods, really? And now I think it's skull cracking now is the big thing. That is the bads of social media, and we need to really teach ourselves and teach our children. We are the first ones that are having to go through this. So we don't understand the world that they're growing up in. So when they have kids, they'll know, they'll have an understanding. We don't. There is absolutely no parenting manual, and there's no chapter in the manual that goes with this. So with social media, please have a sit-down conversation with your child. And as you as a teenager, please understand that we as parents are trying to navigate through this. We're not old fogies. Some of us do grasp the concept, but we also know the dangers. As an adult, we see things that you don't. We fear things that you might not even be aware of. So as a parent, teach your children these things. As a teenager, understand where we're coming from. We want to protect you. So with that, I will get off the social media kick. I think it has a lot to do with what's going on in our world, social expectations, the peer pressure. It is a huge, huge factor in their life, and we need to understand that as parents, how they are expected to be a certain way, and it's not healthy. Like I've said, there's no manual. As parents, we are trying to teach as best as we can. We are trying to teach as we were taught. If it was good, we take that from our parents. If you didn't like your childhood, so you say, okay, well, I didn't like the way they did it, so I'm going to do it this way. It's all a guessing game. We are trying to raise our kids in the best possible way to be the best stewards in life, to survive life. Again, the world that is out there is a completely different world than what we grew up in and what our parents grew up in. So we're having to navigate through this just like the teenagers are. We are trying to be able to teach them to be a good citizen. We are trying to give them the tools of survival. We as parents have a tendency to live through our kids, and we need to stop that. You are not your child. You are not going to sit there and, man, I wish I had played baseball. Well, you're playing and you're going to go far and you're going to do this. Don't put that pressure on that kid. If they want to play, let them play and support them. Do not put the pressures on them of you living through them. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say with that. Because our kids are already under enough pressure as it is. When you give them that pressure, they feel like they can't let you down. So it makes it not fun for them. It makes it difficult. So as parents, we need to learn not to live through those kids. I can honestly say I was kind of doing that with Grayson because I wanted him to go in the military so bad. He wanted to as well, but I always wanted to be a military mom because my whole family was military. I was supposed to go in the military, but me and the ASVAB did not get along very well. So I kind of screwed that opportunity up and never went back. I feel like I missed my calling in the military, but I wouldn't have the life that I have now, the husband, and had my two beautiful boys. So I'm grateful for all of our military because I grew up in that. But I was kind of going to love living through Grayson in the military. You know, we always talked about it, and I look back at now, and I really hope that I didn't put that pressure on him, that maybe he didn't want to, but we always talked about it, and he loved JROTC, so I'm kind of okay with that that was not living through him, so I was in that respect. The biggest thing that I want to say next, Scott touched on this last time, our last live, and this is the biggest guilt that he has, and I think this will be the biggest guilt that any parent has. When you fuss at your teenager, or when you get angry, or you get disappointed, it is very, very normal. Very expected. Still a touchy subject. you kids, you have to understand that when we fuss at you, we come from the heart. Now, granted, there are shitty parents. There are shitty lives. I understand that. I had that. I promise you, I understand that wholeheartedly. But when parents, most of the time, they come from a good place. We are trying to protect you, and sometimes we helicopter. Sometimes we protect you too much, and we want to just wrap you in bubble wrap, and you have absolutely do nothing wrong, and you have no consequences in life. And as parents, we need to remember they're going to screw up. You're going to have consequences for your actions. They are going to lie to you. They are going to hide things from you, and they are going to desperately try not to get in trouble. And that is where we had a problem with Grayson. Grayson was a chronic liar. He was a good kid, absolutely wonderful kid, but he hated getting in trouble. And so that's where it kind of led to, we were fussing at him a lot. And as Scott said, he was the discipline. He was the one that, he barked really loud. He was the type of parent, which there are other parents out there, fuss, get it out, and then you come back and communicate. Where I am the opposite. I get very quiet. I say nothing. I walk away, deal with my anger, and then I come back. I'm just the opposite. That's why we made a very good pair, because we, in that respect, helped each other. And there are parents out there who do the same thing. But just remember, us parents fussing at you, it does come with love. Really does. When we're angry at you and we're grounding you, we're giving you consequences for your actions, because you have to learn. In a 15, 16, 17-year-old mind, and I'm going to say this from a very kind place, so don't get offended, but you have to understand, teenagers, your mindset at 15, 16, and 17, even 14, is not an adult mindset. You're still learning. You're still trying to become an adult. And how you feel at 16 is completely different how you feel at 19, 20, and 30. Perfect example, my life. When I was at 16, I hated life. And I wanted to commit suicide. I didn't get the opportunity because my grandmother wouldn't let me go home. At 16 years old, I was living in Section 8 housing. We were on WIC. We were on food stamps. My mom was going through a divorce. I had two very much younger sisters. I'm 15 and 11 years apart with my sisters, so they were basically babies. My mom was in college. I was still in high school, and my mom's bipolar. Very difficult to live with at that time. We didn't have medication. She self-diagnosed with alcohol. Alcoholism runs in my family. She was loving the fact that she was going to college, trying to make her life better, but it was a nasty divorce. No help whatsoever from our stepdad. And I caught the brunt of her manics. I caught the brunt of her wanting to be loved. I caught the brunt of her hating the world. I caught the brunt of everything. And I look back at it now, and I was being selfish. I can honestly say that I didn't want to deal with anything anymore. But at 16 years old, all I wanted to do was just the pain to stop, the mental anguish. That's what I wanted to stop. And I was like, you know what? I need you to be a mom. I don't want to be the mom. I don't want to have to deal with this. At 16 years old, I should not be having to deal with this. And that's how I felt at 16, and that's why I wanted to die. I'm grateful that I'm not. I'm grateful that I'm here. And I tell people all the time, I had a perfect life. I have an absolutely amazing husband. I had wonderful children. Everybody has problems in their families, but you have to communicate. So with that mindset, I understand what it's like from a parent's point of view, how you're fussing at your children and you just can't understand. But parents understand, you were there once. Remember your teenagehood. Remember how you thought about your parents. Please take that to heart. Remember, because we, again, are navigating through a world that we don't understand, and the pressures under them are ridiculous. We need to have them to understand, when you give a punishment, follow through with it, please. If you're going to say, if you do da 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 da, this is going to happen. Follow through with it. Don't be that parent of, well, I was angry at the time, so don't worry about it. You can go on. I don't want to ruin your life, or I don't want to ruin your night, blah, blah, blah. Please don't do that, because then they're going to take that and use that. Just like little toddlers, you give them an inch and they take a mile. Not that teenagers are trying to warp you, but I'm saying they have to know that there's consequences for their actions, because if you're trying to make them good stewards in the world, that world is cruel and you know that. Do not set them up for failure. That's where I'm going with that. They need our guidance. They need to know the world that we live in, and it's an ugly world, and we have to have those consequences. We have to have those actions. We need to sit down and have those difficult conversations. We need to sit down and say, where are you mentally? We need to put our parenting away, and we need to be there, not as a friend, because as a parent, you are not a friend. You are a parent. But we need to sit down and put our parenting instincts down for a moment, and we need to say, I need to know where you are. How's school? How are you dealing with school? Don't just give me the BS because I'm worried about you. I want to know, how are you dealing with school? Is it what you expected? Is it not what you expected? How are these classes? What's the pressure that you're going under? We have to ask these questions. It's not just, oh, it's just school. You're just a teenager. Just deal with it. Don't do that. Because these schools, of what the pressure is nowadays, it is absolutely unreal. I have a lot of teachers who are my clients in my business, and a lot of them want to quit teaching because of how our education and how our school systems have become. It is terrible because they are not teaching, they are testing. These tests that they're having to do, and that they're not teaching what they need to teach. It's a cry. It's an absolute horrible time in our educational system. It really is. And these teachers are bitching just as much as everybody else. And as parents, we need to sit and understand what these kids are going through. And remember, they're at school more than they are with you at home. They are there, just like our job, 8 hours a day. They are there more with their friends and more with their teacher than they are with us. We need to know mentally where they are. And some of these kids are not doing well. We need to sit down, because they are so afraid to sit with us, because they're so afraid that you've put them on such a pedestal that they're afraid to fall and look disappointed in your eyes. That is, we had one of Grayson's friends come over and told us all kinds of things. It was a good visit, but she had said something that caught us off guard. It hurt badly, but I digested it, and I'm going to tell you something. Parents, when you sit down with your children, please have the hard conversations and actually actively listen to them. Don't listen to respond. Listen to listen. Listen to their voice. Listen to their mannerisms. Listen to their body language. Because what they're telling you and what they're showing you could be two completely different things. We need to understand that these kids are coming from a very, very hard place. So when we were told that this person had said that she was talking to Grayson one night and she had to talk him down. And I looked at her, I said, "What do you mean you had to talk him down?" She goes, "He wanted to do something to himself." And I'm like, "Well, did he say why?" And she said, "Because he didn't feel needed." Of course, that hurt. It hurt a lot. But it is one of those things, as a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a teenager, when we fuss at our kids, that's what they think. We need to reassure our kids that no matter how angry that we get with them, we do love them so much. So I learned that obviously we need to do better as parents. So that's where we're going with that now. So that hurt greatly, and it's been on our minds. So what I took from that is I had a conversation with a client, and she goes, "So you tell me the signs. What signs can I look for in my child?" I've had that asked so many times to me. And you know, there are kids who are depressed. There are kids who are having problems. They show it physically. But there are kids who are like Grayson who never showed any signs. Yes, he talked to his friends from what we're learning, but he never showed any signs. And the lady asked me, she goes, "Well, if he didn't show any signs, what can you offer to those parents like yourself? How can you help a parent who doesn't see anything?" And I really had to think about that for a second. But what popped in my mind, and this is the guilt that I carry, because this is what I wish I had taught Grayson. I taught him everything else, to talk, to communicate, that suicide is wrong. I've taught him all that. He knew that. The one thing that I've never said to him, that I didn't think about saying to him: if you are so upset, and if you are so worried about talking to your parents or whomever, that you are so fearful of their reaction, have a witness. As in, bring somebody in to sit with you while you tell your parent, "Hey, I did da 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 da." I wish Grayson had done that. I wish he had said something. So when you don't see the signs, they still fear things. They still fear talking to you. So we need to make an environment that where they feel confident of talking, whether it make it a safe place in your home, make it a safe word, make it tell them, like I just said, bring a witness in, or go to somebody else and have that person come to you and then deal with it. Teenagers, we're still going to get angry. We're still going to fuss, but you're still here. I wish I had that with Grayson. So you teenagers, I want you to know that yes, it's difficult coming to us. Yes, you know that you're going to get yelled at, or you're going to get fussed at, or you're going to get grounded. You're going to have the dirty looks, or you're going to have, really, why did you do that? You knew better conversation. You're going to have that. But please know, as a parent, it is out of love, out of fear, because we are trying to hold on and navigate for you and protect you. You will always be 80 years old. You will always be our baby. You will always be our child, and we're always going to parent you. And that is the most difficult thing for a parent, is to let go. I'm a parent of a 22-year-old now. I still want to tell him, hey, you need to pay your bills. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, don't forget that. I have to learn how to back off and let him be the adult, but I still want to parent him because it's just what we do as parents. And as a teenager, you need to sit down with your parent and tell them the pressures that you have going on in school, that you don't want to go to college, that you do want to go to college, but you don't think that you're going to be able to afford it, or your parents can afford it, or, school is rough and I hate school. I hate the work, or my boyfriend or my girlfriend, is driving me insane, or they're pressuring me to do things. You have to be open and honest. I promise you, your parents feel awkward having the sex talk or the boyfriend talk or the girlfriend talk. I promise you, I was always that parent that I was always honest, and I told them I'd buy them a box of condoms, but I was that parent because I wanted them to feel comfortable enough to come to me. But I know that some of you parents are not comfortable with that, but you have to make a safe zone for your kids. You have to make it okay for them to come to you. If you want them to tell you the truth, you have to be truthful with them. Truth, communication goes both ways. If you want your child to communicate with you, you have to communicate with them. You have to tell them, I feel awkward, I feel uncomfortable, but I need to say this, so just listen, or whatever. As a teenager, write a letter to your parent, hand it to them, and read this when I'm not around, digest it, and then let's talk. Same as a parent. Texting. We all text all day long. We're always on our phones. Text. We need to get it out. We need to have those hard conversations. Teenagers, you need to be able to go to your parent and tell them, hey, I am not in a good place. Hey, I don't feel like getting out of bed because I am so sad and I don't know why. These teenagers who are always on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat and saying things, it is a cry for help. Please do not ignore that. Now, for your parents who are thinking that they always do this and it's always the same thing, they get in trouble, they do this, they do that. I understand that. There are some kids, just as parents, who like the attention, but still have those conversations. Get to the core of the problem. Do not ignore it. And for the ones that you absolutely, like Grayson, who you thought everything was fine, still have those conversations. Tell them that they are needed. Tell them, if you ever feel like you can't tell me the truth, have a witness. You got to have a witness to get married. You got to have a witness to have a divorce. You got to have a witness to buy a car. You got to have a witness to buy a loan. Why not have a witness to tell the truth? We need to be able to have our children talk to us, and teenagers, you need to be able to have that conversation with your parents. Not every parent is a good parent. Not every parent comes from a good place. Find somebody. Find a role model. Find somebody who you can talk to, because if you do not communicate, it will kill you. Literally. Communication is life. Communication will breathe life. I cannot stress that enough. You have to be able to talk. I'm just trying to make sure I go through. Kids also realize you're going to do stupid stuff. You're going to get in situations. You're like, oh God, I'm going to get in so much trouble. Or, oh God, if they find out, I'm dead. Oh my God. I've been there, done that many times. Guess what? Your parents have done it too. Your parents, I'm sure, have stories that they're like, I really shouldn't tell my kid that because then they'll try it. I promise you, your parents were not perfect little angels. I know I wasn't. I know my husband wasn't. And I know my kids weren't. I learned a couple of things about Grayson that it makes me laugh. Um, Poor kid, I thought he died a virgin. Not so much. I can laugh about that. Um, I just wish he was able to tell me that. That's all. I can laugh about that. But I promise you, kids, your parents have done some stuff. Your parents have gotten in the same situation like, oh shit, my parents are going to find out. I am in so much trouble. I am so grounded. It's the rite of passage. You're going to do stupid stuff. We parents know this. We parents expect it, but when it happens, we freak out. That's because you're like, why didn't you just listen to me? Why didn't you do that? Da, 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 da. We come from a good heart. We really do. We expect it. But don't fear not telling us. Please do not fear. There are things that if you lie, it snowballs. One lie after another, after another, after another. I mean, the layers. It happens. So please, parents, sit down. This is my hope and outcome for tonight. I really want you to sit and have the hard conversations. I want you to look at your kid and talk heart to heart. That's what you need, is heart to heart. You need to sit down and ask them the tough questions. And kids, you need to, and I keep saying kids, it's because all of you are my kids. I will always call you my kids. You need to be able to sit down, cry with your parent, tell them the truth. If you can't do it now, do it sometime, but do it. Cleansing your mind and soul does wonders. You have no idea, in the respect of when this is light, how different the world looks. When you lift everything off of your shoulders, the world looks like a much brighter, better place. Have the hard conversations. Talk about suicide. Talk about mental health. Talk about feelings. Talk about emotions. Talk about school. Talk about stupid stuff. Talk about yourself. But talk. Communicate. Have a safe place for your kids to be. You do not want to be in my shoes. You do not want to wake up every morning from a nightmare to a nightmare and have regret that eats you alive and consumes you. I promise you, thoughts that pop into your head are not fun. Parents, if you can't imagine living without your teenager, talk to them. Teenagers, this life is much better with you in it. And I promise you, you are needed and wanted. You may not realize it, but wherever we go, we run into people that know Grayson. It is unreal. My husband just went to go get his oil changed, and talking to a guy, his son knew Grayson. It is a small freaking world. I promise you, you touch more lives than you will never imagine. I know I can't save every single soul, but it is my mission from now on to get into the schools, to get into the military bases, to get wherever I can and talk to people, adults and teenagers alike. You are needed, you are wanted, and you are loved. Do not walk in my shoes. It hurts daily, and you have a lot of regret. Have those conversations. Have the hard ones. communicate. That's what I wanted to say tonight. I love absolutely each and every one of you, and I've noticed the core of the people who have been on every single night or every single time. You have no idea how much you mean to me. And all the ones who still keep checking in, I appreciate it. Check in on Josh. He needs it more than anything right now. Check on Scott. He had a hard night tonight. Today's been a little rough. This is, I can honestly say, the first Thursday that hasn't been as bad as the rest. Little steps. One moment at a time. That's what I live by. That's what I need you guys to be. It is not one day at a time. It's not one life at a time. It's one moment at a time. I put out a post earlier in the week, last week, I can't remember, about roundtable discussions. I have possibly found a place. I've had 2 people reach out to me. One is in Bono, one is in local. I'm trying to get with them, and we're going to sit down. For the ones who seriously want to join me in that roundtable discussion, and what it is trying to see where we can go, as in, let's talk about what we can do to help me getting in the schools, help getting counselors, help getting to the kids, what we can do and stuff like that. Reach out to me via Messenger, please. If you want to join this, I need to get a head count of how many people that I'm needing, or who are wanting to join me in this respect. I know a lot of you have already said send me a DM, please. And let's start that. Conversation. This is something that I'm going forward with. I have a lot of you reaching out to me, saying that you want me to do things. Let's start doing them. Let's start putting it on the calendar. This is my mission. I am here every Thursday now. Not unless something comes up where I can't be here on a Thursday. So I'm going to have discussions. I'm going to be raw with you. I'm going to talk about suicide as much as I can until you probably get tired of it and you're like, okay, we're done. We don't want to talk about it anymore. Tough shit. We're going to keep talking about it because the world needs to know that this is an epidemic. There are more people killing themselves from suicide than they're dying from the coronavirus, that are dying from flu, that are dying from cancer. This is crazy. We need to do something about it. So I'll get off my soapbox on that. Sorry. Please have those conversations tonight. Have them soon. Sit down. Come from a good place. I love all of you. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Live for Grace and #.